Hello, welcome to another edition of Peloton on Pause, brought to you by Green Edge. It's a show all about checking in with riders because we're currently in lockdown. It's not just riders, it's fans as well. So you're all sitting at home, absorbing as much podcast content as you can. And we've got a special episode this one because we've got the two nationalist champions from Australia, Cam Meyer and Amanda Spratt. I'll start with you first, Spratty. You're currently in Switzerland. What's lockdown like there at the moment?
Yeah, that's right. I'm in Switzerland, so I'm happy I'm here with my partner. So that's a nice aspect. Lockdown, basically, only the essential shops are open. I am fortunate that I can still actually go riding on the road, so that's been a saving grace. I can still get outside, but you're still pretty cautious. Like I admit, I head out, and you're still a bit more careful if you do go outside. And even so, I've been doing more training inside. I'm starting to become a bit of a Swift addict, actually. So that's been fun. But in general, just trying to, stay away from other people. And actually, I've kind of realized that my normal life is almost a bit like quarantine, and I'm pretty good at it already, actually. Like I spent one moment I didn't step outside my apartment for 4 days, and it didn't even feel weird. So that was
really?
that was a bit alarming, but I'm pretty good at it, actually.
And what about you, Cam? You'd be glad that you're not living in that little apartment in Girona that you were there about 5 years ago, because life in a little dog box would be pretty much hell at the moment.
Yeah, I was a bit fortunate, Dan. About a week before this all sort of hit, I'd chosen to come back to Australia to see the family after the Track World Championships in Germany. So I got back right at the start of March, and I've been in Perth since then, and it's not too bad in Australia at the moment. Obviously, there's a lot of social distancing rules, and WA's stopping the borders and that. But I'm like Amanda, I'm still able to go outside and do some exercise, which I am cautious, like Amanda said, just to do it solo, and a lot more indoor sort of training at the moment as well. Just not trying to do too much out in the open, and life's definitely different. But I'm thankful that I'm in Australia at the moment, because Spain, Girona is in a pretty hard place at the moment. Hopefully it does turn around and get a lot better. But I am thankful that I'm in Perth at the moment with the family.
Spratty, obviously being in Switzerland, do you have a lot of contact on video chats with the family back home? And I know personally I'm finding that my parents are starting to go a bit loopy. My mum thinks I'm almost like the social distancing cop, and whenever I ring her up, I'm just checking in, because if she breaks the rules, I think she thinks I'm going to dob her in, because it's always like, no, don't worry, I had someone over the other day, but we were like 3 meters apart, and I don't really care. But how are your family going back home with everything that's going on?
Yeah, I think a little bit of a similar story at times. I think we had to, I never thought I'd have the moment where the family or my parents were discussing like the benefits of WhatsApp meeting versus Skype meetings versus Zoom meetings. So we had our first actual Zoom family meeting last weekend. It went well once Mum figured out that you actually had to press the join meeting button. I think the rest of the family was sitting there for about 5 minutes before Mum WhatsApped through what am I doing wrong? And just press the button, Mum. So, I mean, it's been funny. It's been challenging. And, but yeah, I mean, it's pretty awesome that you can still stay connected through all these apps at the moment. So that's been fun. But yeah, same thing with the social distancing. Mum and Dad said they went for a bushwalk in the morning a few mornings ago, and all of a sudden they ran into a friend and started to have a chat, and then they realised they're breaking the law all of a sudden with the rules. So I think that's probably, you can laugh about it a bit, but it's still, everyone, they're the rules now, and everyone needs to be responsible for it. But it is funny sometimes to hear those stories.
Cam, how are you going with your family, mate? Obviously, there would have been a bit of banter with Trav that you finally won the national title and you got to wear the jersey all around Europe. And unfortunately, it's come at the worst time of the year, mate. He's obviously got to show it off a lot more potentially than yourself this season.
Yeah, I hope he doesn't start that sort of banter where he got to actually show it off a little bit more than me. But no, that was cool to come back and see Trav and talk about the stories of his nationals versus my national championship win. And did take a while, but from 2010 when he won it to 2020 when I finally finally got to put the arms in the air. It was pretty special. But yeah, it's going well with the family back home. Obviously, it's nice to be around them in these times. But I'm sure Mum's going to get sick of me. She is on the back end of my coaching at the moment. So I go out, and if I've got a gym session, she's coming out with me, and she reckons I'm training her too hard at the moment. So I think she's probably only got a couple of weeks left before she's wanting to boot me back over to Spain, I reckon.
Yeah, so how do you guys keep motivated through this period? Because obviously it's unknown, you know, when you're going to sort of start racing again. And when you are training, it's obviously for different blocks and different races that you're targeting. How are you going with it all, Spratty? Yeah,
it's pretty difficult. I think, like, at the start, just like one race was getting cancelled and the next race, and you sort of more kept looking to the next race that was still on the calendar. And then we just got to that point where basically everything was cancelled and the Olympics were postponed. And I think that's when it sort of really hit, and you sort of think, like, why am I training? What's the point of this? And at the same time, though, you're kind of a bit conflicted because, you know, I mean, sport in the scheme of what's happening in the world at the moment is a very, very small part of it. You know, we're in a global crisis, so sort of that conflicting thoughts as well. But at the end of the day, it's our job and our passion. And so it's just trying to pick little goals to go towards. Like, yeah, I must admit, we've been doing a lot more Zwift, and I had like a little goal that they had the Tour of Watopia recently on Zwift, and there were 5 stages, and I'd only done 4 of the stages, and I found myself hopping on Zwift at, like, what was it, Thursday evening, to make sure I got the stage 5 done, because I couldn't cope with the fact that I'd done 4 out of 5 stages. And so for me, that felt like, you know, a little goal achieved. And now every time I log into Zwift, I can see that I did the whole Tour of Watopia, which is just, yeah, I never thought I'd be in that position where I'm voluntarily getting on the ergo at 7 p.m. But just like little goals like that, whether it's trying to finish a stage, or I just ordered a whole bunch of puzzles, so I'm motivating myself, trying to do other things off the bike as well, and just making training a bit more fun as well, I think.
What about yourself, Cam? Are you fully addicted to Zwift and rolling people for, you know, just general goals and little personal best times and so forth?
No, I haven't got into the Zwift fully yet. So I have been sent a trainer from the team, and it only just arrived about a week ago, and I've had a couple of dabbles on it, but haven't got into the full racing mode of it yet. And running is actually my new thing. So been trying to do 30 minutes and see how far I can get in 30 minutes each day, and I'm up to just over 6K in the 30 minutes. So I'm having fun just trying to mix it up, and it is hard at the moment. We're so used to setting goals and knowing when our next race is and what we're trying to target. So that is a little bit strange for the athletes, I think, around the world at the moment, not knowing when their next competition is. But you got to keep it as fun as you can, and at the moment, running's my thing.
Have you guys been in touch? Obviously, you're able to train outdoors at the moment, but a lot of your teammates aren't. Have you been in touch sort of to try and you know, help your teammates mentally get through this sort of period? Because obviously, from the guys that we've spoken to, training on a home trainer is obviously a lot harder than getting outdoors. I'll ask you first, Spratty.
Yeah, definitely. And that's like a big part of it. Like, I'm lucky here. I managed to get to Switzerland before Italy was totally locked down. So I know I'm fortunate that I can get out on the road. But, you know, we've got Jess Allen. She's still in Girona, completely locked up with sort of no end in sight to their lockdown. So, yeah, it's just about keeping in touch. We're all finding it hard, I guess, with motivation at times. And like Cam said, with having, you know, we're so used to working towards goals, and now we're not sure what they are. So I've had some pretty fun messages back and forth with Jess, actually, with we share like cooking, and she started doing Zumba, and she's getting the whole Zumba get up with sequined shorts and just funny stuff like this. Yeah, just I think, you know, we all like to have a good laugh, and so even we have a big team WhatsApp group, and that's been pretty funny to see some of the stuff going on there as well. So I still think just keeping it lighthearted and a bit of fun as well is always a good way to motivate yourself and keep it interesting.
And Cam, you've been in touch with a few of the guys, particularly the ones back in Girona and so forth?
Yeah, I wake up in the morning actually because of the time zone difference, and got about 100 WhatsApp messages on there, and they're all they're all having a go at each other, banter and all that about the Zwift and who won and who they're leading out. And the Yates brothers are trying to get someone to lead them out for a sprint. And there's about 100 messages on there. So they've got a few groups going at the moment. Our coaches have set up some probably twice a week where they get their little coaching groups together, and the riders get on at the same time to do a session, and they all meet up on Zwift. So I think that's really good for the guys, because it is getting to, I think, day 17 or 18 in Spain that they've been in lockdown, and that's where a lot of the riders are at the moment. But I think they're getting by. They've got a few different groups going. They've got I think once a week they've joining up and having a bit of a beer or a wine, just a chat, general chat, like they're in the same, catching up at the pub or something like that. And just a hello, and I think it helps break up the week, and it helps give them something to look forward to, and all those sort of things I think is going to help them through this period.
Spratty, you mentioned before goals and so forth. Obviously, the Olympics would have been a big goal and a target for yourself and Cam as well. How did you react when you got the news that they weren't happening this year? And
yeah, I think by the time they announced that they were going to be postponed, then it was more, I have to say, it was more a sense of relief, or I think it was something that we almost expected by that point. I mean, the AOC had pretty much said Australia weren't going to go. And it just became more and more evident. I mean, it's changing so much every day, almost every week, with the corona situation. And it just became pretty evident that this was the only decision that they could come to in terms of like the safety of everyone worldwide. Like, think how many people would travel and come in from all across the world, and it just didn't make sense anymore to have it. So I think in a way it's like I was sort of relieved that it was postponed and not cancelled, I guess, was the main point around that. But it does, obviously this has been a goal for the last 4 years almost, and you've been building up towards it. So definitely took a bit of just time out and trying to think, okay, now reset the goals, and the goals are still there, but it's just going to be pushed out a little bit now. So yeah, it's nice that it's still there to work towards. It's just a bit further away.
Just on that, what happens with team selection and so forth for the Olympics, given that it is extended? Have they given you any indication on, all right, it's the same team as what we had picked this year, or is it reset sort of thing? Like, what's
to be honest, we're still waiting to sort of find out what the ins and outs of that will be. We just know that, so we had like a quota already. Okay, the Australian women's road team get 4 spots, so that quota will stay the same. And as far as I can gather, I think the selection criteria, if you've already made certain results, that will all count, but they may extend it through until closer to the games next year. So that's sort of information they haven't really decided on yet or told us about. And it's also so, like I said before, there's so much uncertainty. Like, we don't know when we'll be racing again and how that might affect things. Like, it could be that we start racing again in Europe, and the riders who went back to Australia or New Zealand, which is actually half our team, they might not actually be able to get back to Europe to even start racing again. So there's a lot of things to consider at the moment, I think.
And what about you, Cam? How did you take the news of the whole Olympic postponement for next year, mate?
Yeah, I was probably similar to Amanda, where it was a bit of a relief to see it postponed and not cancelled, because it is something that I have and a lot of athletes been working towards for the past 3 to 4 years. And every week during that phase when this was all happening, it was just the uncertainty wasn't very nice, because we're trying to plan camps, we're trying to plan flights. I know for myself, it was like, when was I going back to Europe to start the road racing? And then I had track camps and coaches that needed to fly over for track camps, and logistics were just changing day to day and week to week. So that uncertainty wasn't a very nice period. But now to have it postponed and know when that date is, and that the Olympics in Tokyo will still go ahead, it's really, like Amanda said, it's just being pushed out, but the goal's still the same, to try and work towards being there in 2021.
How different is the Olympics compared to any other races that you've done before?
Very different, I think. Like, the one thing I've sort of taken out of especially 2012 in London, where I just really underperformed and was so overwhelmed, is that you can sit there and say it's just like any other race as much as you want, but it's really not. And I think the sooner you can recognize that and plan for the fact that it's a very different race, the better, I think. Like, it's just, you know, there's so much more around the Olympics. It's all different sports all coming together. There's so many more people involved. That you've got all the regulations, like who can come in the village, who can't. It just takes longer sort of to get everything done. And even the race itself, normally we're racing with 100, 150, 140 other riders, and in the Olympics, with the quotas that they have, we have a peloton of 67, I think it is. So that also makes it really different, much smaller team sizes. So the whole atmosphere around it is very different. And I think, like, I remember in London going out from the start, and you literally couldn't hear yourself thinking because there were so many people there roadside cheering. It was pouring rain, people were still there. So just that atmosphere is something that I think as a female professional, we're not as used to that. We don't get the same huge crowds all the time that I think the men do in a lot of their races. It's certainly getting better, but we're not at that point yet. So that's also something different that you may not even consider beforehand, that this is, this atmosphere can also, you know, build the nerves and almost make you use energy that you wouldn't otherwise.
Did you get to go to the opening and closing ceremonies for London?
So London, we didn't go to the opening, and mainly because normally the road race is day 1, day 2, so we never go to the opening. But I did go to the closing, which was really, really special, actually. Just I'm not very tall, and so normally it's one of these moments where I just feel insanely short because I'm standing there next to the basketballers and rowers and swimmers and basically every other sport apart from gymnastics. They're the only people where I feel triumphant and tall. But yeah, just to have all these athletes from all over the world and a bit of party atmosphere. And I remember everyone after London closing ceremony, it was just a mass walk back to the McDonald's in the dining hall. And
yeah, I was going to say there's like free Maccas in the village, isn't there?
Yeah, the free Maccas. I still remember I did some school talks after that to just primary schools in the area where I live, and that was like the one takeout I think the kids got, is that if you go to the Olympics, you get free Maccas.
And what's your go-to if you get free Maccas? Chicken McNuggets, Big Mac?
Yeah, I love the nuggets and chips. And I know, I'm sorry, actually, I don't want to know what goes into those nuggets, but I still love them.
It's called chicken blend. Don't worry.
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good. Proteins.
Yeah, that's it. No, but the closing ceremony would have been awesome because, Spice Girls did was that the Spice Girls reunion?
It's like Spice Girls reunion. We had Mr. Bean. Mr. Bean did a segment. It was just like this, you feel like you're a reunion with your teenage years, or just this bizarre moment where all these people came back to you, and it was fun though. I think that's the whole competition period is so many nerves, and even once you finish competing, you're still a bit aware that everyone else is around you and still competing or have stuff to work towards. And so the closing, it's like everyone is finished, and you've got some athletes there that maybe they don't have world championships every year, so the Olympics is really the one thing they have every 4 years. That's this huge competition, and I think we can all focus and train really hard, but we can also let our hair down as well pretty well.
And once your event's done, did you just go autograph hunting in the village? That's what I would have done. I would have just gone up to all the basketballers and trying to get scribbled.
Autograph hunting. You have the pins, so you try to trade all the pins. I tried to get photos with tall people because I thought that was funny. Honestly, some people are almost, I think, twice the height of me, which is just bizarre. But just trying to get to all different sports, and obviously they had the saga in Rio where people botched their accreditation and ended up in the Brazilian jail. But
I remember that.
People try to get into different events when they can as well.
You wouldn't have been the smallest in the Olympics. You could have gone to the gymnasts and they're 13 years of age and
I do. I feel quite tall next to the gymnasts, but at the same time I feel bad because most of them are probably 13 or 14. So I feel like I shouldn't feel so triumphant when I'm next to them. But I do try to stand next to short people every now and then to feel good about myself.
Well, so long since I've been. I went to Beijing in 2008. It was a bit of a blur then. I was 20 years of age or 21, and it all happened so fast, and I didn't get to do the opening or the closing ceremony. So, Tokyo, I think there's something about the Olympics like Amanda's describing, and that's outside of the actual racing. We're very used to being around cyclists, seeing the shaved legs, seeing the same sort of body shapes and that. But when you get to the games, it's very different. And I do remember things like when you go to the games, everyone that is in that village is good at something. So you never want to laugh or point figures at how tall someone is or how short someone is, because they are good at something and they'll show you up. And I remember a story where in one of the after parties, I think it was at the Oakley house. Oakley, one of the big sponsors, had a like a big party house, and there was some Dutch rowers in there, and they must have been about 90, 100 kilos. 6'5" tall. Anyway, there was this small Australian guy at the bar, and he got pushed aside, and he was only probably 50 kilos and 5 foot tall. And these Dutch rowers sort of pushed him out the way and jumped in front of him, and he sort of spoke up and he said, "Hey, I was here first." And they said, "Oh yeah, what are you going to do about it?" And they'd had a few, and they soon found out that, well, once they were knocked out and on the ground, that he was a flyweight boxer. And so you should learn your lessons. Definitely, you don't walk around the village thinking you are the best, because everyone is good at something in that games.
One final thing on the Olympics is, how does it work with your support party? Like, obviously, people have had to book flights and accommodation. Is that just the situation where they can get it sort of taken forward a year, or do they get reimbursed? How does that all work, Spratty?
Yeah, it's a challenge actually. So yeah, my parents were planning on going, my partner too, and they had an Airbnb booked. They've tried to cancel it or move it forward, but actually they can't. So they're just going to lose the money for that Airbnb. The host just said, like, if we refund everyone, then we're not going to have a business again next year. So unfortunately, they've lost that money. I understand with flights, I think Qantas has been really good and given basically a full refund or a voucher for the same time next year. So flights are okay, accommodation, money lost.
Do you have a similar experience, Cam, with your support crew?
I think they didn't have the flights fully done yet, but accommodation they did get back. So we've been a little bit fortunate that the accommodation they could get a refund on. And I'm pretty sure the tickets stay the same for next year. But yeah, all the exact details I don't exactly know.
All right, we'll wait and see. We're going to take our first break, and then when we come back, we're going to talk about cycling cravings. Okay, so we're back. It's all about cycling cravings, presented by Giordana. I'll start with you, Spratty. What do you miss the most at the moment with this lockdown? Is it your teammates? Is it being outdoors and racing? You know, what is it you miss most?
I think I most just miss going to races and actually racing. Like, I think you start every season, you have these goals in place and you're working towards them, and now they're sort of not there anymore. So I think I'm missing having or knowing the goals and working towards them in a methodical way like I normally would. And then just getting to the races and seeing everyone. It's always really fun. Like, yeah, we're all teammates, but we're also all friends. So we all enjoy each other's company. So I love the banter and the shit talk that happens between us. So I'm probably just missing that sort of atmosphere and all coming together and getting out there and just having a really cool plan and just going towards it. Like, so that's something I'm probably craving and missing a bit. I think we're so used to as well, just traveling all the time. Like, on the one hand, it's really nice now to just be in one place for a while, and I'm obviously happy where I am. But at the same time, you're kind of used to living out of a suitcase. Like, I just moved my team suitcase to another room now because I'm like, well, this is probably not going to get used for a good couple of months, which feels strange, but I actually enjoy that sort of moving around and going from hotel to hotel. So I think that's what I'm missing. What
about you, Cam? What do you miss the most at the moment, mate?
I think it's the atmosphere. I think it's when you train so much for a goal, and then you get to and a lot of it's done either solo or with a couple of mates, and you're getting the hard work and all that done, and then you get to the actual race and the crowds and the anticipation, and every day is bringing on a new challenge, and you get to do it with your best mates and your teammates. And I think all that build up and then being able to race in front of the atmosphere that race presents is probably the thing I'm missing most.
What about lockdown cravings, Spratty? Like, is there anything that you can't get that you would have normally been able to get with all the lockdowns with stores and things like that?
Fortunately, toilet paper is still in supply here, so that hasn't been an issue yet.
Was
But maybe
that an issue in Perth, Cam? Did they do that as well?
Yeah.
It's just an Aussie thing.
Aussie thing. I don't know why. I just don't understand it.
Yeah. Anyway, continue.
I think maybe the other thing, I think like we're obviously spending a lot more time in one place now, and so I've started doing quite a bit more cooking and challenging myself a bit more with that. And so now, like, I've decided I want this cooking implement, or I just watched Jess Allen make gnocchi on the Mitchelton Scott Facebook page, and so now I want to get one of those potato squishers that can magically turn the potatoes into good
awesome.
gnocchi. Yeah. So
I make my own, and it's very important to get the right potatoes, Spratty.
What potatoes should I use?
I had to get these purple ones.
Okay.
Don't know the name of them, but they're purple.
Okay, because I don't know if Jess specified which potato, so that was going to be a question. Actually, you reminded me. I do. Have to
you
call
need
her.
starchy ones, and the key is not to overhandle them.
Okay.
So, yeah,
I'll have to update you on how it goes. I already feel a bit nervous about that. So that's probably, I can't get that at the moment. So that's probably what I'm craving or want to get. And just being able to go outside when you want to. And I mean, I'm like business on the top here, but I'm definitely pajamas on the bottom. So just just making an effort to dress yourself a bit better sometimes. And it's just so easy to be in pajamas and wake up, train pajamas, because you're not going to see anyone or go anywhere again. So it's like, you should make a bit more of an effort sometimes.
And Cam, you're massive on the nightclub scene in WA. Is the lockdowns, the nightlife killing you the most, mate?
Yeah, definitely, Jonesy. You know me to a T. The latest one that's killing me is the golf club, golf courses.
Yeah,
killing me.
I'm not too sure about that rule. I get that you're it's about not touching the flagpole and passing on corona that way or whatever. But surely you wear a golf glove. Just use the left hand to pull the stick out. That makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, you can leave the stick in. You don't even. I don't know. You're gonna don't even have to touch it. But I just think we're still allowed to go into the supermarkets and all that. And so yeah, the golf club. I don't know if it had the same 1.5, 2 meter rules, but I understand. I mean, golf's going to be there when we come back, and there's a lot bigger issues at stake, but I am missing the golf courses and the golf clubs at the moment.
Have you been watching a lot of streaming services, Spratty, like Netflix and Amazon Prime or any of these sort of ones over in Europe? And have you seen Tiger King?
I was wondering if that was going to come up.
No, I haven't seen Tiger King, but that could be put on the list. Is that Netflix? That's what I need to know.
Yeah, it's Netflix.
All right, there we go.
Awesome.
So I've been railing the Netflix. Before I was a Zwifter, I always liked to smash out a good Netflix series or something when I was on the Ergo. So actually, I just found out that Money Heist is the latest season of Money Heist just came out. So that'll be the next one to watch. But Netflix is normally my go-to.
What about you, Cam? You seen Tiger King?
Yeah, I have. Joe Exotic. I've watched it. I'm normally a movie man on Netflix. I'm not really a series guy, but I did get pulled into the Tiger King and all its antics, and what a
so
crazy
I've never
world
heard
that
of
is.
Tiger King. So what's Tiger King?
So
I don't know.
What am I getting myself into?
You might be shaking your head at us too after watching the first episode.
Okay, so we're not going to give away too much here, but it's basically following this guy who's got a mullet, and he's just out there. And there's just about a dozen layers to this thing, and he's got this sort of backyard zoo in the middle of America, and he's got this feud going on with, what's her name, Carol Baskins or whatever?
Yeah, Carol Baskins, yeah.
Apparently she started coronavirus as well. That's the rumor going around.
Really?
But, and he does music videos. He tried to become governor, but there's just, you can't script it. It's one of the most unbelievable series you'll ever see.
This just sounds very educational. Good.
Oh yeah. I said to my mum
what not to do.
I said to my mum, you should watch this Tiger King, and she rang me back and she said she didn't get halfway through the first step. She's going, nah.
No.
Couldn't swallow it. But Louis Theroux.
If you're an animal lover, like pure down animal lover, I'd probably stay away from it. But if you can sort of put that to side a little bit, then it's got some twists.
Yeah, it's next level. Cam, what would you give Tiger King out of 5, mate?
4.
Yeah, I'd give it a 4.5. It's
you've spoken.
Worth having a look at. Yeah, so make sure everyone just tune in and give us anything that we should be watching on Netflix, because it's going to be a lot more time to be watching the streaming services. That's for sure. Let's have another break, and when we come back, we're going to have a look at Inside the Victory, presented by Scott Sports. All right, it's Inside the Victory time, presented by Scott Sports. Spratty, we'll start with you. What is your favourite victory of all time, and why?
Good question. I think 2018 Giro, I think. So I think it was stage 6. I won that stage and took the Maglia Rosa. And it is a stage that we'd been in recon before, and Annemiek and I were the leaders there, and it was a 15-16 kilometre uphill finish, and just played it perfectly. I think the team did a fantastic job into the climb, and Annemiek just drove the pace. We were down to a group of 5, which I could then attack from to win the stage and take the Maglia Rosa. And then, Annemiek the next day, took the Maglia Rosa by about 5 minutes after one time trial. So, but regardless, it was just such a cool victory because it was such a whole team victory. And I think they're my favourite ones, where it's like every single person in the team really contributes towards a victory. And that's probably one of the things I love most about cycling, is the teamwork and how everyone can use their strengths to work together. So for me, that was really, really special. And probably on a personal note, I think it was also a bit of a turning point as well, to have this goal and then to achieve that. And then obviously Annemiek went on to win the overall Giro, so to be a part of that. And I think it really set me up for the rest of that season, where I got second at the World Championships with the support of the team. So from a personal perspective, I think it just gave me that confidence. And then just, as a team, I feel like it was such a team victory, that whole sort of Giro, whether it's my stage or Annemiek's, Jolene, everyone sort of contributed. So it's just such a special feeling to be a part of when it feels like that.
How is Annemiek as a teammate? Obviously, being world champion, she's obviously meticulous with her planning, her training. Seen obviously the video series that the team have released. What's she like as a teammate?
Incredible teammate. I think she's someone that I think I've learned a lot from. She's quite generous with her information, and you can always ask her stuff, but also just by sitting there and watching what she does. I mean, I think anyone who follows her on Strava says that she trains like crazy. But I think she just knows her body so well and can just train so hard. And I mean, it doesn't work for everyone, but for her, it obviously works. And she's just nutted out exactly, her diet, her training, just every little bit. She's just honed in on every single skill. And that's why she's the world champion. It was incredible what she did at the Worlds. So to have someone there, I know for me also, we're quite similar riders, and we had some races last year where she said, okay, no, you can have an opportunity here and I work for you. So it also goes both ways, where I kill myself in one race for her, and then she's also given back as well. So that's really important as well.
And how important is it when you're a leader on a team? Like I got to see it firsthand as well when we're doing the Orica Green Edge stuff back in the day, but the ability to motivate your teammates, the ones that have to sacrifice themselves on the front, and finding that balance, like finding moments where you go, okay, like as you said with Annemiek, all right, now we can work with you and so forth. How important is it to have that sort of balance, particularly as a leader?
For me, I think it's really important. I think, you can't always just expect to have someone always work for you, and then never give back to the team in some way, whether maybe you give him back in a race or you give him back with something you might do off the bike. But for me, that's really important. And I never I know when I look on my calendar, I never want a calendar where I'm only the leader in every single race. I want to, I guess the first over 50% of my career, I was always a domestique or always more of a worker. So that's something that I really, really enjoyed, knowing that when I was strong enough and good enough, then I would get the chance to be a leader. So yeah, I think so that's probably why I still enjoy going back into that role and just killing myself. And I know a lot of people say sometimes when you're working for someone else, it's almost like you can kill yourself more in that role than when you're the leader sometimes, because your job starts from kilometer 10, kilometer 20, whereas when you're a leader, you're just saving energy until maybe the last 2 or 3 kilometers. So it's quite different actually.
All right, Cam, what's your favourite victory, mate? You've got a couple of big ones, Tour Down Under, Nationals. I was there when you won the time trial at Tour of Swiss and you had the tailwind and then the heavens opened and Cancellara got a headwind. What's your favourite?
Am I allowed one track and one road? Or I got to pick between the two?
Oh, jeez, mate. Now you're counting, selling tickets to your own show.
It's always hard. Everyone's like, oh, do you prefer track? Do you prefer road?
All right, let's give us your best road victory, mate.
Probably this year's National Road Championship, I'd say. I don't know if it's because it is quite fresh, but it also was something that I worked towards and wanted for so long. And after 12 years of trying, it finally happened. And I think all the emotion that was built up with it, all the summers that I spent doing all the hours and the motor pacing and the efforts to get ready for the first week of January to finally pull it off after 12 years was pretty special. And to do it with so many of my best mates and teammates was, something I won't forget. So it's probably the National Championship win this year.
I hate to bring up bad memories, but I still remember the 2012 Nationals when you were at an insurmountable lead, and I remember filming Steve-O, and he was on the corner, and there was probably 2 or 3 laps to go, and he was pretty much counting the chickens. And I said, Steve-O, how's it feel? You know, you're probably going to win the Nationals. He's like, Cam, buddy, thoroughly deserves this one. Haven't seen him have a drink for a while, though, or something, but we'll see how he goes. And then you went hunger flat, and that was it.
We'd be here for a year if we had talked about my national stories, mate.
Was that the most disappointing day on the bike on the road, that 2012 Nationals?
It's the one I might wanted to crawl into a hole and hide, probably. But I don't know. Probably last year's national championship was probably the one that affected me the most and probably the most emotional in terms of thinking I had it and lost it. But 2012 was definitely up there as well, actually. Mount Buninyong can make you cry, that's for sure. Yeah.
Oh, we've finished that on a strong note, Cam. All right, well, we're going to have our final break, and then we've got Ask Anything presented by Shimano. Okay, it's the final segment, Ask Anything, presented by Shimano. So if you've got a question, submit it on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, to Mitchelton Scott page. We're going to kick things off with you, Cam. It's on Facebook. Wendy May Abbott. Wendy, super fan. How are you? Haven't seen you in years. Hope you're doing well. She says, Cam, how did it feel winning your National Road Championship against your 12 World Championships on the track? I think she's trying to get at, would you trade them all in for that one National Road title?
Oh, asked a hard question straight off the gun, mate. Thanks, Wendy.
That's Wendy, mate.
I don't know.
Mate, you're gonna trade him in or what?
Probably not.
Right.
No, I think the World Championships on the track are pretty special, and that did come before the Road Championships. So probably I'll stick with the World Championships.
Just on that, if you win a world title on the track, are you allowed to wear the world bands when you go for a ride on the road? Because apparently there's some unwritten rule you're not allowed to wear world championship bands if you've never been a world champion. I don't know how it works.
Many moons ago you were allowed, and then there was too many world bans going around the pro Peloton, so they stopped that. So no, you can't wear. You can only wear the bands on the track. You can't wear it on the road.
So you don't want to change your answer. You don't want to trade those in, given that you can't wear them on the road. No.
No.
All right, move on. John Lieber asked to Cam, how much do you see your track riding as a strength for your road racing, and how do you train well for both?
Yeah, I think there's definitely benefits of training on the track and racing on the track. A lot of Australians have been brought up with that culture through the Institute of Sports. They started from the track and moved on to the road. Amanda's a pure example of that, and now she's one of the best in the world on the road. But she's got a rainbow jersey, junior rainbow jersey, on the track, and yeah, I think you develop a lot of skills. You develop a good pedaling technique, and you can transfer that into some of the skills that you do use on the road. So I definitely see it as an advantage. It is hard to balance track training and road training. They are slightly getting further and further apart with the power aspect that you have to do on the track with being in the gym. I think it is slightly going further and further apart, but there are still some great qualities that you can get from the track to help you on the road.
Good stuff, mate. Spratty, we've got one from Andrew Kennedy. What's your favourite place to go for a casual coffee ride in Australia?
Well, I'm from the Blue Mountains, Springwood. So I have to say my favourite place is probably in Springwood. I like going up the mountains along Cliff Drive, past the Three Sisters, and then back down and just stopping at one of my local coffee shops if I do, Cassiopeia. I'm sure you wouldn't know that one, but it's just a nice one, bike-friendly, good coffee, relaxed atmosphere.
They do vanilla slices?
I can't say if they do or not. I'm not sure, but I'm assuming
that's your go-to, Jonesy?
That's me go-to. The snot blocks in Australia. I love them.
Awesome. I love a good carrot cake. That's my like. If it's good carrot cake, I'm there.
Yeah, I'd swing more towards the carrot cake with me. But
vanilla. Either way, they're both great, mate.
It better be downhill. It better be downhill for the rest of the ride after we have a vanilla slice, I reckon, over a carrot cake.
Exactly. All right, here's one for both of you. This is from Alison Bruce. Who's the most entertaining in the team, and why? Cam, kick things off.
Most entertaining? Probably Chris Jensen.
I was going to say, he was on last week, and you could tell that he was so happy that he got his fix. People watching his content again. But do you find with Chris that he's good in the shorter races, but the Grand Tours in that last week, some of his jokes land a little flat?
I haven't experienced that yet, so I wouldn't know firsthand. But he's actually at a race surprisingly quite different. As a roommate, he is fantastic. He has all his stretching mats, and he reads his book, and he's actually a lot more quiet than he might come off when you put a camera in front of him.
Yeah. What about you, Spratty? Who's the most entertaining on the women's team?
I reckon Sarah Roy for me. I just think when Roy's around, you're always laughing, or she just says something and it just cracks everyone up. I reckon Jess Allen as well is probably a close second. Jess is just someone who always makes you smile, and like I said, she started to get into the Zumba in lockdown and started wearing the fluoro headbands and the sequin shorts and sending us like a Zumba workout. I don't think we've all been inspired enough to try it ourselves, but yeah, she's not afraid to put herself out there, and yeah, it's just funny for the rest of us.
Just on online workouts, have you heard of this guy, the PE? It's PE by Joe, this PE teacher in the UK who's just exploded. No?
No.
Get amongst it. He's doing these online classes, and we saw him on the Today Show this morning, and we thought, oh, well, we'll give it a crack. And he dressed up as Spider-Man. You've got to follow his workout for 20 minutes, and I got about 10 minutes in and almost spewed on my 3-year-old. So safe to say I might give him a bit of a spell, but if you want to keep fit, check out PE by Joe, I think it is, on YouTube, and he's donating all his YouTube money to the NHS in the UK, so pretty funny content as well. All right, we've got another one from Howard Wong, and he says, what is your favourite guilty pleasure mid-ride snack? Spratty, start with you.
Oh, I reckon I already said it. I reckon like a good carrot cake or a good piece of cake mid-ride can always get me through. It's what I crave. I like to stop somewhere and get that at a bakery, or otherwise like a good mixed bag of lollies is always my go-to, I reckon.
Oh, Australia do some good like big muffins. I reckon they if you get a good coffee shop with a good size nice muffin, maybe raspberry white chocolate muffin, it might be right up there.
Yep. And we've got one for you, Amanda, from Margaret Elderfield. She says, do you ever think we'll get a proper women's Tour de France?
I'm not sure if it'll be in my lifetime, but I certainly hope so. I think, it'd be nice. At the moment, it felt like the momentum was building and we were getting sort of a 2 or maybe 3 day one, and now they've gone back to just 1 day on the Champs-Élysées, which feels like a backward step. I certainly hope that in the future we can build that up, and even starting with a 7 day tour or 2 weeks, to even just start with something to progress, it would be really nice. And I think, there've been talk of how should we do it, this and that, but I think pretty much everyone in the women's peloton would say that we do not want to race the same distances as the men. No way. I think the reason women's road cycling is so exciting is because we do have those shorter races and it's on from the start. So we definitely don't want to be racing the same distance as the men or the same hours. But I don't think that's a bad thing. I think it makes our racing more exciting. So I certainly hope in the next years it can progress to something, whether we start with a 3-4 day tour and then progress from there.
All right. We've got 2 more questions. These are on Instagram. This is from Navy Scrubs. Do you guys have any superstitions? Start with you, Cam.
Not really. Left sock goes on before the right sock. That's about it.
Yeah, that's interesting. Why is that, Cam?
I don't know. I have no idea. It's just always done it. Always, I don't know. Always go the left sock before the right sock.
Yeah, right. Okay, that's interesting. What do you got for us?
I love the way you said like not really and then said that. I'm pretty sure that's it.
Yeah, well, it's normal to me. I don't see it as a superstition. It's normal.
But what if the sock fell? Like, say you've put him on the ground and it fell close to your right foot. Like, that just
swap. You just go there.
No, but the socks are labelled like left and right.
Yeah, left and right.
One.
Yeah, all our racing socks are L&R, so we're sweet. I don't know what I'd get if I had 2 L's.
Yeah, right. You wouldn't race.
I'd go find a teammate and have to swap.
Spratty, how do you go with your socks?
Socks I'm okay with, although I probably wouldn't cope if I'd accidentally like folded them together in the wrong way and went to a race with 2 right socks. That would not be good for my mind. But I think superstitions, I'd like to wear items that are experienced. So I'll give you an example. So normally my birthday is right before the World Championships every year, so 17th of September. And my parents have come to the last 2. So before Innsbruck Worlds, where I was seconded on the podium, Mum gave me a nice new pair of earrings for my birthday. And then in the race, I didn't wear the earrings because they'd never done a race before, and I couldn't, the idea of them turning up to this race and not having raced before, I just couldn't risk that these earrings would do their first race at the Worlds. And so then I was on the podium, and then Mum said after, why didn't you wear your earrings? And I said, I couldn't, Mum, they weren't experienced enough. So
you need to break it all in.
Yep. No,
so do you break them in at sort of smaller races like the Bay Crits, get all your sort of stuff broken in, and then they're ready to go?
Yeah, like these were the earrings I wore this year when I won Nationals, but I wore them at the Bay Crits first so they could get a few races in the ears, if I say that. I'm not sure. And they were ready. By the time I got to Nationals, they knew what they had to do.
Oh,
so never mind all the training I do for my legs and my body and everything. It was the earrings.
Breaking the earrings in.
Yeah.
All right, and we've got the final question. A. Holster, does Cameron love the Death Valley Loop as much as Durbo?
Oh, no way. Turbo put me to shame around that loop. He is the king of Death Valley. So I need a fair few weeks under my belt before he invites me. When he invites me to go and ride with him around the Death Valley Loop, otherwise I will perish around there because that's his turf.
Is this Perth?
Yes, it's a loop in Perth, and it's dead roads up and down, and literally, if you get stuck out there, you'll never be found again. So it's in the middle of nowhere. And, Durbo can just ride you into the ground out there. So no, I've got to be fit enough, and he's the king.
Just on Durbo, did you see his video the other day on how to make sourdough pizzas?
No, I didn't see that one. I've seen him dancing at the moment.
I know video.
Yeah, he's been dancing a fair bit, but he has been cooking. I haven't seen his cook one yet.
Check it out. I think the Mitchelton Scott guys posted it, and it's riveting viewing. He's got his own starter little kit. He's full on taking it serious. And I think this is the thing that this lockdown period's starting to show, that people are just finding little niches and becoming obsessed with them. So Durbo is all about the sourdough bread. So, yeah, riveting stuff. And I think Bewley did a video the other day as well.
Actually, that was funny. That was his lasagna one. Did you see that?
Yeah. And then he made the bechamel with yogurt. And I'm like, what? And then I saw the photo. I was like, actually looks really good.
Yeah, I want to try. I've got lasagna on my list actually to cook. And I thought yogurt and eggs does not sound like a good topping, but I agree. It did actually look quite good.
Yeah. Well, that's been a massive podcast, guys. As we did with the first step, I'd like to give people like the final word on what you want to say to everyone sort of tuning in, because obviously like it's a stressful period across the board. I mean, you know, people are losing their jobs left, right and center. People are stressing about obviously the virus. I'll start with you, Spratty. What did you want to say to the people watching and listening in for this app?
Yeah, I think it's a unprecedented time for everyone at the moment. It's not easy for anyone, like you said. I mean, people are losing jobs, also like the frontline workers that are putting their own health at risk to keep everyone else safe. So I think in the early days of this, I think I didn't really take it seriously. And then with every day and every week, you realize how serious this really is. So it's just about, following the regulations and rules wherever you are has become so much more important than it ever has been before, regardless of your personal view on it. And I think for me, I'm not personally really scared maybe about getting corona, but I do really worry about if I would spread it on to someone else. And I think I saw a really great thing recently where it said if you got told you had coronavirus and you had to list all the people you'd seen in the 14 days before, would you be proud of that or not? So I think that really resonated with me about how important the social distancing is as well. But at the same time, I think it's really important to stay connected with everyone. And it's fabulous. We have like Zoom and WhatsApp and Skype, and even like jumping on a Zwift ride and feeling connected with people, seeing an Aussie flag kind of makes me excited. So yeah, I think at the same time, it's still an opportunity to stay connected, and it's been fun actually to be on Zwift and ride with people from all around the world. So that's been a real bonus, I think, and something we wouldn't normally get to do. But yeah, for everyone, stay safe and healthy is the main thing, and look out for each other. Yep,
great stuff, Spratty. What do you want to say, Cam?
Yeah, I'd probably just like to say a huge thank you to all those people on the front line. I couldn't imagine how hard it is for them at the moment in their lives and with their family members while they're trying to fight this in the hospitals, and even police workers who are having to put the lockdowns in place, all the way to your prime ministers and that. It's not an easy period, but for all the public, you got to stay strong. You will come out the other side of this, and you've just got to find those little things to enjoy in the meantime, and try something new within the restrictions that we do have. So it's about staying strong, and but mostly I'd like to thank all those people on the front line for sure.
Good stuff, Cam. Thanks, guys, for your time. Obviously, you've got busy schedules with your Zwift training and cooking and FaceTiming family members, so appreciate taking the time out. And thanks to you guys listening or watching the podcast as well. We're on every Monday, so we'll be tuning in with riders from the team, Mitchelton Scott, and sharing insights and thoughts and recipes and reviews on Netflix shows. Spratty, make sure you send through your review on Tiger King. We're keen to hear your thoughts. All right, thanks, guys. We'll speak to you soon.
Dan. Thanks, man.
Thank you, Dan.
See you.